What's up, everybody? It's your editor here, Brandon Noel, down in Louisville, Kentucky at the Napa Midyear Conference. Look who I got with me. It's in the mix, man himself, Marvin Joles. What's up, Marvin?
How's it going, buddy?
Well, as he already knows, but is asking facetiously, we've been down here hanging out with all of the Napa folks in Louisville, the land of a lot of bourbon.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of spots to acquire it if you're so desires.
I mean, basically, you walk into the McDonald's here in Louisville, and they have bourbon on the menu.
Yeah,
You get your McBourbon.
I think everything, McBourbon. I think everything's bourbon glazed.
Yeah, you can get bourbon glazed donuts, bourbon glazed shrimp. They're just kind of giving it away down here, and that has been just a nice little bonus on top of all of the amazing things that we have learned and seen here in Napa this week. Marvin, what's been your favorite thing that you saw or learned, or an interaction you had here at the Napa conference?
Yeah, this is my first Napa mid-year event. Usually I'm not able to get away because we're doing asphalt work, but made a point to get down here. And really, to be honest with you, you kind of get used to the landscape looking the same when you get to some of these places.
I know what you mean.
But here it's a little bit different, right? We're tactfully talking about things or initiatives that have taken place so far this year that Napa, of course, is at the forefront of.
Right, and you were at the annual in Hawaii.
I was, yeah. So you get some information about what the initiatives are for the year, and then you get kind of caught up to date here at the mid-year of what happened and where we're at with those things. A lot of talk about legislation, bills, safety.
Well, the big beautiful bill just passed, and so there was a lot of talk about how that's going to affect the industry, what impacts it's going to have. However, most people maybe not know the difference. The big beautiful bill was not a reauthorization of the surface transportation and infrastructure like the IIJA. That's something that still is in the works, but Napa plays a huge part in how those things get developed and how those policies get shaped. Did you have any conversations with anybody this week that we're kind of hitting on some of those things?
Well, see, that I think the big initiative that we talked about at the annual was the Napa PAC, right? The Political Action Committee, right? So now, of course, these things have always been at the forefront of needs as far as the government goes. But now to have a position from the asphalt industry, being able to go and speak to politicians, Capitol Hill, and have dedicated sessions for that, really have made what looks like a progressive advancement in the Big Beautiful Act and really a voice of like what we hope to do as the asphalt industry. So you're not necessarily having the politicians make decisions somewhat blind. They're a lot more informed and a lot more guided by the people who are actually going to be taking advantage of the bill or affected by the bill directly.
This is something that Marvin and I talked a lot about yesterday. You know, Marvin's a commercial maintenance paver and seal coater, and you work like more of like the Pavex kind of side of things. You know, like I think that a lot of guys like you and in that side of the industry are not always as aware of what's going on with the Napa crew, right?
Correct.
I often hear guys say things like, those are the big guys. Those are the big people out there doing those things. But don't be fooled. The stuff that happens here at Napa and the way that they're shaping legislation does impact the maintenance side of the industry. There's a lot of people that work as subcontractors for these larger contractors doing the road work. That work and those funds eventually make their way down into every part of the industry, which is why I really wanted to sit here and talk to you today, is about getting involved on a greater level. I had a conversation with Niall Elam. He's the Vice President of Government Affairs here at Napa. He's going to be in a future video, my interview with him, but just to give you a little sneak peek of that, we had an amazing conversation about getting involved and putting kind of like your money where your mouth is. Right? Getting out there and having your voice heard, because if you're not here with a seat at the table, then unfortunately you're not a part of the conversation as to how they're going to go to the government and talking to them about what we need. If your needs aren't being shared at the table, then you're going to probably be left out in the cold.
Yeah, I think the resource that Napa is for us. When I first did the annual, I learned what their plans were, what they do, and what they hope to accomplish for us as asphalt contractors, consumers, plant owners, and all these things.
Maintenance guys,
everything. I mean, line striping, crack sealing, patching, road paving, even the dirt work and earthwork that goes to prepare some of this stuff is going to be affected by that. But it seems like, at least from my perspective, the politicians and the decision makers that are at Washington, D.C. are so far from me. How would I ever have an influence there?
Yeah.
Well, I can't directly, maybe, but I can be part of Napa and let Napa know and be in all these conversations and these committees about what we need, the topics that are important to us, and what we see out there, and then they can relay that directly to Washington, D.C. and the people that are making decisions. So it's really nice to have them. Yes, they're in suits, but here they're also in collars and T-shirts and hanging out with us as well. But you do feel like, hey, I have a voice now, and I have an organization that's pushing for things that matters to me. Yeah.
You can often feel like, would you even begin, right? Like if you were just on your own, there's no way that you can really get into those rooms.
Correct.
On Capitol Hill, those are exclusive places, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And they have very limited time. Your congressmen, your senators, they're very, very busy people. They have a lot of meetings, and they have a whole constituent base outside of the asphalt industry, right?
Sure.
They have to think about teachers unions, and they have to think about the police unions, and they have to think about all the infrastructure beyond just roads, right? Mm-hmm. We're just one aspect of that for them. So when they have time to meet with people from our industry, it's got to be focused.
Yep.
It's got to be clear, and they have to be able to communicate those needs. That's why these happen every 6 months, because these conversations, we have a lot more time to refine that message, to refine what those needs are going to be. I really hope that as Napa continues to work with Congress, to work with our leaders on the next reauthorization bill, that we will see some money coming into localities, right? Mm-hmm. Getting into the municipal markets. That's where you guys live and breathe.
Yeah.
But I think that we see the infrastructure stuff. They're going to build roads.
Yeah.
They're going to build those things. They're going to keep them up. People need those things. But I think on the municipal side, I would like to see a greater investment personally, because, I live in a urban rural area. Does that make sense? Say urban rural. I live near Cleveland, but I'm outside of Cleveland, and our infrastructure could use
a little bit of help.
What about what's it like? You live in like 2 places, right?
Yeah. You would think that Wisconsin roads would be far worse than Nashville area roads. Not necessarily the case. I've come to find that.
No shame on either DOTs.
Right. One thing that I think is really interesting, being a contractor still myself, and quoting large parking lots and some municipal work and whatnot as well, is the fact that when some of the funding is cut for larger government projects, we'll see contractors that normally wouldn't estimate or quote the jobs really that I quote, all of a sudden throw their hat into the ring. And not only do you have another competitor then on the quote, but a lot of times they're probably producing their own material.
Mm-hmm.
They probably are able to do it faster and more efficient because they have more men, larger equipment, and all that stuff. So it really creates a challenge as well for me being a smaller contractor when I have the larger contractors who aren't doing the government work that they're normally doing, all of a sudden in the ring with me.
They'll step in and like.
Correct. So I think it's important, even if you're not doing the heavy highway work, that you try to quote unquote like lobby for that to go through, because
you don't want them getting in your way.
I don't want them getting in my way. So although these are large companies who more than likely I'll never compete with, all of a sudden I actually want them to keep doing busy. The larger work
want those
and do
guys
the bigger
stay
stuff.
busy.
So I think a robust, healthy asphalt industry and community where everybody is able to pull the fruit from the tree that they normally pull it from is really important. And a lot of that comes into play at Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And I think it's important now more than ever that organizations like Napa meet more often. There's a lot of other meetings. I think there's like 4 more Napa. I speak at the Impact meeting coming up in Savannah. And there's
Capitol Hill, the fly-in.
There's an international meeting in Chicago. So I think the more often we meet, the more we can stay on top of stuff, and the more informed we all can be, whether that's us as a sounding board for Napa to then go relay the information, or whether it's for us to receive information about things that we normally wouldn't be able to understand. Napa does a great job of taking what's in the bills, chewing that up, and digesting it so that we can interpret it very simply at the contractor level.
I think one thing that in my conversation with Niall yesterday that became really clear to me is that Napa can only know and communicate what we tell them.
Correct.
So if more contractors on the maintenance and commercial level come to these sorts of things and get engaged, then that will begin to spearhead more initiatives in that direction. So I think we should encourage that. That's what we're doing right now. You guys should be here to do that. But I want to talk about two subjects that I heard that were coming around this week that I'm pretty passionate about.
Sure.
First is health and safety.
Sure. Yeah.
So, health and safety is a huge issue. There are topics ranging from, what's the biggest one, right? Work zone protection.
Work zone protection is always there, right? We have a whole work zone protection week in our construction industry that we're dedicating to that. The other one that we heard about, of course, is heat-related illness. It's been hot all over. It's been rainy, but when it hasn't been raining, it's been hot.
So hot.
So it's not always like, we're not just talking politics, right? They're keeping
real
polls, real things.
Well, because Napa will shape not just policy that we're going to talk to the government, but Napa members have access to the resources. So any plans that a Napa member, the Napa Health and Safety Committee establishes for heat-related illness, they have basic plug-and-play policies that you can, as a member, have access to and then take to your company.
Correct.
And just apply it. It's really difficult to go and develop a whole new plan from scratch.
You're not building from scratch.
Right.
No.
You have the expertise and the resources built on all this experience at your fingertips. So you can go and then take to your company of whatever size and say, hey, this is what these road building contractors are doing to protect their workers, keeping them safe. We're going to do that here now. I think that that's something that is completely invaluable, because how else would you learn all that stuff?
I don't know. You don't want to learn it by trial and error. That's for sure.
Definitely don't
we
learn.
We do enough of that in the asphalt industry.
Don't learn by trial and error when it comes to health and safety. That's not the right way. But again, another great resource that you can find here. But today in the general second session from Dunn Construction, there was a speaker named Chris Strickland. Now, I have to tell you, I've come to a number of these meetings. Mr. Strickland gave one of the best presentations that I have ever seen. Not only was he charismatic and engaging, listen, I've seen a number of PowerPoints in my life.
Sure.
The dude had PowerPoint skills. Every piece of text was like flying around the screen. I mean, he's a pilot. He's a colonel.
Yeah.
So we got to put some respect on his name.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not only a veteran, not only served in that capacity, but he's out there working for Dunn Construction. And he has done amazing things in his home state of Alabama. Look forward to a full interview with him. I am definitely going to be reaching out to Mr. Strickland from Dunn Construction to get a lot more details about what he's been doing to advance labor initiatives in the state of Alabama. They've taken a state that really struggled with finding workforce. I mean, this is what everybody's struggling with: finding labor, finding people who are skilled enough to engage with the trades, to work in construction. They took matters into their own hands.
Yeah, development.
Right. They went straight to the source, finding people who don't have the skills, and don't have the opportunity, and then they partnered with other local businesses, even competitors, to develop a certification program in their area, and used students to build a whole training facility and taught them and certified them across the whole process. I was so impressed with him that I was like, dude, I'm going to have to reach out to him. I might even see if I could do a No Edgelines episode and see if I could get an actual certification.
well, here's this thing where there's large problems, right? And that's a large problem.
It's everybody's problem.
Yeah. And we had another session, you and I sat in, Dr. Vince Hafeli and Eric Green talking about mental health awareness and strategy.
Something you and I have already talked about quite a bit.
We talk about that quite a bit, and that's at the forefront, right? And here's this huge issue. How do we tackle it? The speakers here aren't saying, hey, here's an easy way to take care of it. No. It's a hard thing to do, and whether that's developing the next workforce, right? Like Mr. Strickland was talking about, or whether it's tackling mental health awareness in your company and figuring out how to overcome it and develop strategies so that you can work with it and not against it. These aren't easy things, but there are strategies there and there are people who are doing it. But it might take what it always takes in the asphalt industry, which is hard work. But there are solutions to the problems that we're seeing in our industry. And here at the Napa Midyear, some of those solutions and strategies are being displayed.
Yeah. Something that's interesting about the difference, I don't think Mr. Rowan from Napa would mind me saying that the attendance level for the annuals is a little higher than the midyear. And you already said why that is. This is the middle of the busy season.
Yeah, for sure.
So it is always a lot harder. It has nothing to do with the quality of the meeting or the coolness of the location. I mean, you're talking about Hawaii versus Louisville, there's no comparison, but that has nothing to do with it at all. It's the busy season. Everyone is working. So I think what's really interesting about the tone of the midyear is I always feel like people are more available to have impromptu conversations in the halls, in the corners of the hotel, or out at a restaurant. Guys are willing to take that time. Everyone, I don't know what it was like in Hawaii. I didn't get to go, but the other annuals I've been to, it feels a little hurried. It's pretty.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there's so many more sessions. There's so many more people. You can kind of feel lost in it. I think that if you were thinking about joining Napa, a midyear might be a great choice to kind of dip your toe in, because it has a little bit of a more chill a vibe to it, but still full of lots of education and helpful things.
Tons of education. I think it also is a little more stripped down, and you also feel like you're taking steps with Napa here, right? At the annual, there's award sessions, there's recognition for this stuff and that stuff.
What's happening? What is all this?
Right. So there's a lot more going on, where here they're a little more tactful. They know what's on the agenda. They know our schedule and what we need to do. And some of this stuff is things that Napa at large is going to do at DC or within themselves, within their organization, to prepare us for completion at the annual.
Yeah. Definitely with Napa, this is a place for your aggregates, your quarries, the producers. It's really heavily focused in that regard. So I don't want to give the wrong impression to our maintenance and pavement guys out there, thinking like, oh yeah, that this will be attuned for them. It is definitely slanted, because that's what Napa is.
Yeah, that's what they were built on.
But the reason why I still think it's important to be here, like we've been saying, I don't want to kind of keep beating a dead horse, is that getting a seat at the table with them, yes, but learning, it would not hurt those people to learn more about and get more integrated with the plant manager side of things, learning from the relationships with, you might meet the actual plant managers, the owners of the places where you buy your asphalt from. Wouldn't hurt to maybe be able to sit down over a nice glass of bourbon with them and get to know them better. Because if there's one true thing about this industry that I hear ever since I set foot into it, is that this is a relationship industry. So beyond all the education, beyond influencing the political spectrum, there is an opportunity here to build new relationships, forge new relationships. Have you had any experience like that since this is your second one? Have you forged any kind of new relationships with people on the side of industry that isn't really your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm fortunate to be that people person. And
what?
Yeah,
Marvin Joles is a social person,
and Napa is made up of a great group of people, and we're developing friendships, relationships. I'm seeing where I can help out and plug in, but also, not a lot of people know this, but a good chunk of Napa's staff are engineers, right? So I don't know how to engineer an asphalt design or what I'm going to be doing for civil engineering or what's called, but the people that are on staff at Napa, most of them, or a good number of them, I will say, are engineers. So they know how.
And a lot of people walking around here
are engineers.
Super smart.
Yeah. So I mean, they know what we need on that side, but they're really looking for us to speak to them about what we need as contractors and people who consume the asphalt, of course, in the industry. And there's just relationships getting developed. There seems to be a great understanding of how we all need to take what each other's strengths are, informations and experiences are, blend those all together so that when we are approaching, and I say we, I mean the asphalt industry, are approaching problems, politicians, initiatives, anything.
Your own workforce,
our own workforce. There's
yeah.
a collective consensus of our views, needs, wants, desires for now and for the future.
Yeah. We're only going to be a stronger industry if all the different components and all the different sides are working together. Mm-hmm. Our voice will be heard, not only in the halls of Washington, but even in our own states.
Yeah.
I think that there are even more benefits probably for you joining your SAPAs.
Your APAs, your locals.
Exactly. Get involved with your state asphalt associations. Get involved with the APA.
Start there. Start at your local Asphalt Pavement Association. You know, we in Wisconsin we have the WAPA. Deb Schwarman's up there. Shout out to Deb. They do a great annual. They really mimic what Napa does at the national scale for our state scale.
And those issues will probably apply to you a lot more directly. So I totally in agreement. I think that's a great place for a lot of guys to start.
Yeah, that's a good way to dip your toe in and then see what it's about. And I'm sure they're going to be talking about Napa at your local APA and in your SAPA. And it's a great way to get involved.
Yeah, and listen, if you get involved at a SAPA, you can join these committees. Not only can you just attend them, but you can get on these committees. You can put your expertise to use and help drive the future of the industry forward. Marvin, as we wrap up this little recap and conversation about the Napa Midyear, I want to say one more thing. Next year's Midyear conference is in Columbus, Ohio. That's in my backyard. So I want to see as many people out there next year in Columbus because I'm basically going to be running stuff there. I mean, who knows? No, I'm going to be there for sure. And I definitely want to see as many of you down in Columbus because, man, it's going to feel just like home to me.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm definitely going to be taking all your recommendations.
Yeah, I can't wait to show the illustrious glory of
Columbus,
Middle Ohio.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Every time I've been through there, I slow down. I take in the awe.
Whether you want to or not, you drive through Columbus, you will be slowing down. All right, Marvin, I'm so glad that we got to hang out this week. We got to be here in Napa, and thanks for joining me on the live stream.
Yeah, once again, keep it going.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next time.